Live,
But
We are live.
yes.
Okay, that's Ricky's up.
All right, I'm gonna call this police and fire, meeting together. Mr. Burnside.
Here.
And Ms. Pingley.
Here.
Okay, the purpose of this meeting, we have Mr. Bert Seen and Mr. J.P. Lasco here to go over, the new procedures they're gonna take over and do with, the civil service testing. So I'm gonna hand the floor over to them.
I guess I speak all the time in public, so I might as well do it. We've recently been approached by Chief Roddy and the mayor to look into an alternative testing program for purposes of reaching certified candidates to put on the eligibility lists for purposes of the mayor hiring police and fire, new police and fire patrol. Now, this wouldn't apply to any promotional tests because those have their own special rules, but this is the original appointments. I think I've been on the commission probably going on 12 years, 10 or 12 years. We've always used Clancy and Associates. And I think that there may be a city ordinance that dictates that specifically. So any change that we make for purposes of who we're gonna use would have to be modified by ordinance. Second part of the issue that we have is one of the things that this new testing agency does is they give tests to, and this specifically applies to the police testing. All candidates are currently required to have a PAWDA certification as one of the prerequisites. Now, you know, there are age requirements, there are residency requirements, there is a valid driver's license, a CDL, depending upon which one we use, which test we're given, whether it's for the wastewater, you know, or the street department, etc. But there's always been the stipulation that in order to sit for a test for civil service purposes, you have to have the appropriate certifications. That goes to our civil rules, our civil service rules. It's basically 6.0, 6.06, and 7.02, I believe, is what I was just looking at, which says that obviously these certifications or requirements, which I haven't seen any of the ordinances, but I believe may be listed in the ordinances. So to allow, first of all, us to change to this new company, I don't have any preference. I think there may be a cost savings, perhaps. What we learned is there may be a cost savings. It doesn't change the time frame requirements of when we can give a test. Tests are good for a certain period of time, and you can't give a new test as long as there's a viable list until the expiration of that certified list. So it doesn't change that, but what it does is it allows people to take the test, if we go with this new company, to not have an APATA certification, because they allow those people to take their tests. I guess it's designed to kind of bring in a broader range of candidates, and specifically, I can say that in the years that I've been doing this, I know that whenever we gave a police or a fire test, we might average 10 to 15 applicants when I first started. The numbers for the fire test haven't declined, but I believe, I'd say, in the last 3 years, when we give a police test, sometimes we get one candidate, sometimes we get two, and we're constantly spending money giving these tests because we're not getting enough candidates, you know, to sit for the test, and that poses a problem. I mean, I can't tell you guys why we're not getting them. Maybe it's, we've tried to adjust the time frames, like when we give them, so that we catch the recent graduates, you know, from the OPATA Academy, and we've tried to schedule it that way. That hasn't worked. I think every municipality is having kind of the same issue. It could be a money thing. I'm not, you know, well versed enough with talking to other places as to how they do theirs. We did talk to Boardman, Warren, and Hubbard,
Yeah.
who have implemented this. And, you know, we got pretty good results, feedback from them as far as being able to do that. But like I said, I think the two things that need to be changed are, number one, changing the company if that's what, you know, city council wants to do, and number two, you have to change the requirements or the licensure requirements. I don't think you can hire them full-time, but you can bring them on part-time, and maybe the thought process is if we get them in the door, they'll stick around. So those are the two concerns that we discussed in our meeting, and Bert and I agreed to come and, you know, talk with you guys and give you the information as best we could provide it to you, and let you guys make a decision as to what, you know, whether or not you wanna do this, and what you need to do in order to change, you know, the city ordinances to allow us to do that. Does anybody have any questions?
No, I mean, this seems like it will broaden the pool of potential candidates. My thing is, we're really not gonna hire those candidates until they do get their OPATA certification, correct?
Correct.
That's what my understanding would
Yeah.
be. Okay.
But what's happening now is you see in the paper every day,
Yeah, they're
Youngstown
gone
hires
before-
12
yeah.
people, Youngstown hires this, Warren hires this, before they're even out of.
Sure.
We would, basically, we'd be able to offer them the job when they have the OPATA certificate.
Upon them getting
Upon
it.
them getting it, yes,
Fair
so it'd be
enough.
contingent upon that. But this just gives us, so when they take these tests, they can pay $20 and it can go to Hubbard, they can pay $20 more and it goes to Struthers, they can, so it gives us a better.
Yeah, we're in the
range
running
to
with
pick from,
everybody
yeah.
else as well.
And just like JP said, we talked to the other municipalities and they have gotten a really big, that's what everybody's going to now, and we don't wanna be stuck.
Even if
We
we
had some
don't,
Struthers kids get hired at Youngstown.
if we don't get a huge response, if we get some type of response, it still puts us in the running with the rest of the places that do it, and kinda makes us compete with them a little better, so I see no issue with it.
And also, like you said, we've been trying everything, we tried making the age range. We
Yeah.
tried, like you said, scheduling tests, we're trying to get creative with this, and this seems to be something that, and I
And-
think Roddy talked to you all
Yeah.
at the
Yeah, I
last
think it
meeting
was
about
3
too.
years ago, we came to you guys and you guys amended the age requirement, because there used to be a minimum, or a maximum age of 35 for, or 40, no, we
30.
moved it from 35 to
To 40.
45.
Yes,
To try and attract some other people. The only detriment I could see to this is, once these people are on the certified list, if they don't have an APATA certification, that extends the time frame for the list before it expires. And then, you know, cause you can't, as long as there's viable candidates on the list,
We cannot have
we
another.
can't, the mayor can't come and ask us to terminate that list and create a new one. The police tests are good for 1 year.
And the
So,
police tests are good for 1 year by a state or federal standard, or they're conflicted by our standard here? Because if that's the case, then we're tripping over our own feet and we should change that to every 6 months or
is
something like
civil
that.
I don't
service
think-
or is that ordinance?
civil service.
I think
Yeah, I
that's
think
civil
it's
service.
civil
Okay,
service.
so that's
I don't
something
think
that we
you
couldn't
can't go
control
less-
changing.
You can't go less than that time.
Okay.
No. So,
And what you don't wanna do is, this wouldn't eliminate the requirements for police officer, fire, whatever. So
Right.
you're not-
We don't wanna downgrade
you're
our
not- You're not
standards.
downgrading the standards.
Right.
You're actually increasing recruitment. This is the big thing. When I talk to Boardman, they've used it on fire already, they're using it on police, and they've increased their,
And they've had a good response.
they had 38 applicants.
Well, then,
No, but that's Boardman, so I
Sure.
don't know what, you can't say, what do you pay versus
Fair
Struthers.
enough.
Right.
You do a
Right.
lot of things.
right.
Now, they're a township, so what they did is they passed a resolution. Struthers being a city, you have to go through ordinance, so if you're gonna make any changes.
Okay. Mayor, what's your thoughts on this?
I'm all for it. We've talked about it, we've researched it, we've talked to other places,
Bob?
I agree with the mayor. I
Chief
think
Roddy's
this
in the
is-
same spot?
Yes.
he's the one that actually approached us with this, and there's a gentleman who is, we've spoke to on the phone a few times about questions here and there, and like he said, it's also a cost saving measure.
Well,
We're
also,
spending thousands and thousands of dollars testing.
our problem at hand is in attendance and actually getting people to take the test, and
So
this
this,
takes care of that problem, or we hope it
they
addresses
take this
that
test
problem.
at their convenience.
Right,
It's not uncommon for us to post the job, and then for, let's say, 15 or 20 people to come and take out applications, but we may only get 2 or 3 back.
We had 2 the last, or 3 the last time for police.
And that's all
2
we,
failed.
and I think before that, the last one, we had 2 and 1 person,
Yeah.
only 1 person.
so I mean,
passed.
currently our problem at hand is getting more people to turn these in
Recruitment.
versus waiting the year on potential candidates. So at this point, one's kind of outweigh the other, we need to get more people here and more people turning in their applications, more than we need to worry about waiting the year for the test to expire, correct?
The people that take the test and, they wait, and the year goes by, do they have to, do they have to retake the whole exam again, or can they just renew their?
No.
Okay,
Every test, once the list is expired, there has to be a brand new test.
and it expires every year?
Yeah, and one of the unique things about this is, I think that if I remember correctly, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor, but the difference in this test, why it's not as expensive, is the applicants actually pay a fee
Yeah,
to take the test.
we pay for it.
So you're probably gonna get, you may weed out some of the people that are serious and not serious, because they have to pay a fee to take the test, which, that goes to the company. So it lessens the amount that it costs us, because they're getting some of their money up
Okay.
front. And then it's a yearly pay.
$500.
Right. Now,
Is that the one we're gonna be,
Yeah, because
we're
we
going with
fall
this
under-
company, correct?
Yes,
So it's $425 a year?
yes.
Because there's another one in here that says
Yeah, we
600.
clarified that question, I don't remember what the answer was.
There's another
because
one
we
for
had the same-
637.
$425 per applicant, right?
No, that's for
No.
us to be a member.
That's
for us to be a
for us to be
member.
here.
Oh,
I
okay,
think the
okay.
fee was like $500
I
per
wrote in my
year.
notes is the cost is $500 a year
Yes.
per classification. So
Right.
police is, now,
Oh,
if you guys want my personal opinion, I don't know that we need to do the same thing for fire, because we've been getting a number of people for fire. That's completely up to you, and again, there's no certification change that has to be made, because there's no special licensure, there's no, EMT or anything attached to that, so we don't have to worry about that with fire. This is more designed, I think, to try and attract more people to take the
Yeah,
test.
we're
Yes.
worried about where we're deficient, correct?
Yes. So right now, like if somebody wants to take the test, say Hubbard is trying to recruit somebody and they say, hey, will you take this test? Well, they pay to take the test and they can add on for an extra $20, I'm gonna send it to Struthers too. For an extra $20, I can send it here and here and here. So you're getting even the people that are saying, oh, I'm going to Hubbard, they might still sign up just for an extra, because it's a minimal cost.
Right.
So we might be getting all these other people.
Just for chance.
Just by
Right.
chance.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and if I
because
can,
Roddy's in the
Yeah.
schools too, so Roddy's telling these
Well,
kids.
we don't have a lot of drawback from doing this, except for the 1-year time frame. It might push out a little bit,
But we're doing that anyway.
but we're doing it
That's-
regardless,
yeah.
so I was gonna say, it's not like it's helping the problem that we need to address.
Yeah, and if somebody gets hired on another department from that list, they're off the list. Or are they still on our list?
basically what our practice has been, if you're on the list and we're looking to hire you and you've taken a position somewhere else, the mayor will ask, do you wanna be taken off the list?
Oh,
As
okay.
long as we get some verification that they're not, that they're no longer viable candidates.
Then we can
Okay.
expire the list. So last
Yeah.
time we had 3 people take it, Sam Horton passed, he was the only one that passed. We offered him the position, but he took a position at Poland Township, so that
Okay.
list is expired. But
Okay.
The other 2 didn't pass.
So that got
and
him
he
off
took-
the list.
Yeah, so then we can have a new test, so we
Oh,
have to
okay.
wait. the
So there
year
are ways if somebody,
To expire the test, yeah.
okay.
And so let me feel, how long until you can take it again?
Till the next
Till
test
we
is
test
on.
it again, till
Next
we offer it
test.
again.
If I could piggyback one thing on what the mayor said, she says that, you know, when you take the, like, if you take the Struthers test, you have to come to Struthers, pick up the packet, fill it out, drop it off, go to the designated testing site, and actually take the test at the time that it's given. With this company, you can take, somebody in Cleveland could take the Struthers to take a
Virtual.
test.
You can take it virtual.
Yeah.
So you, again, I don't know whether that's gonna draw any more people in, but you're not limited to just going to each individual facility like we do. Those are the only people that can be on our test. This, we ask them to conduct a test, and anybody that flags Struthers and says they want to be on our list, then gets, you know, submitted to us for.
Now, when you guys give a test, do you have a set time frame for that, correct?
We do.
So now that they're gonna be going on, are people able to take the test and submit it, or it's still gonna be a designated time?
It has to be, because the company will set those times.
Okay.
They'll set the time, and then they'll provide us everybody that made the application and paid the fee.
Okay,
So it can't be like they give a test every month and anybody that wants to, because then there's no way to create that eligibility list.
yeah, I understand.
So it would be a designated time, it's just they don't have to come to this location to take
Right.
the test. And they do them some virtually, I guess it's all virtual.
It just makes it
right?
more
Yeah,
convenient.
for them.
Currently, when you guys give the test, do the applicants have to pay a fee?
No,
Okay.
But we
So
are
we're gonna
charged-
keep that as, for the firemen and I guess
Keep
the
that
sewage
the same.
treatment, right?
Fire, sewage, and street department.
And street
well,
department.
we have to pay the facility. the
Yeah, so
process.
what does that, how
I
how
mean, that's a
often do we
couple
give that
$1,000
kind of a
in for
test?
Clancy, whenever it's needed, or if the list is expired, like right now, we have two vacancies in the police department. We don't have any in the fire department, but should we need to hire, we can pull from the list, cause it's not expired. Or if it's expired, we have to have a new test.
And you said it costs a couple
It's a
$1,000?
couple $1,000s, isn't it?
I think the standard test is 700, and then it's
700.
increased based upon how many additional applicants over 15 or 10, I forget what the number.
But this fee for here is every year as long as you're a member? Okay, and that's, you gotta pay that for each
Yeah,
category?
Yeah, so let's
So
say
it-
we have a test and we only get 3 people like we've been doing, instead of repaying the $700 to Clancy, that 500, we have them set a test if we need one in January and the list is expired in a month because she hires the only person. We can have them take another test and there's no additional cost to us.
And this isn't for any promotional, testing, so it's not for anything that's.
It's only for
happening, it's
entry
just
level,
for entry.
entry level positions, that's all.
That pretty much answered my question.
Right, that's my question.
Yeah.
So what would you guys look at, like the 1 year, would you wanna do it just for 1 year to start, or do you wanna,
Well, I don't think there's any benefit to doing it beyond that, correct?
There's a price.
there's a discount?
It's
Three-year
$500 for
Yeah.
1 year, but if you go,
Yeah,
it goes down as low as $350.
for a 5-year
Yeah.
contract?
So do we need to have a testing every year?
Well, your choice is,
Depends if we have
With police, we
vacancies.
have them all the time.
Yeah, police is.
Fire, those are good for 2 years, so generally, we usually average about that.
Yeah.
Street department, usually,
No.
the
Once a
expiration,
year.
yeah, and,
Wastewater,
I mean,
wastewater,
truly,
nothing recently.
No.
saving 30%, so if you think this is something you feel strongly enough about that this is gonna work, you're better off going with the 5-year and saving 30%.
I agree.
I mean, if it was a 10% savings, who cares? 30% is substantial, especially across the 5 years.
And that's something we could look at too, we
Yeah.
talked with Chrissy about,
Where it comes from?
yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure it'll
Well, and
come out
also-
of,
it'll come out
Well,
of
if it
Facebook.
costs you a
It'll
couple
come out of
thousand
police.
to have the test
Well, also the-
normally, you're looking
The
at,
thing you really have to take into consideration too is the same way when we look to push things out or not push them out is, if we do 1 year and we come back next year to do it again, these
Yeah, gonna
prices
be-
may have went up just due to the company raising prices.
True.
This is what we deal with everywhere. So we don't anticipate the price is gonna go down, like we normally don't anticipate price goes down anywhere, so
Yeah, we can definitely.
I think
look at
Yeah, Mr.
Well-
Bigley, I can't address that issue because I think this concept of what they've come up with is relatively new. And like I said, there's only the 3 local jurisdictions that we know that are using them. And they're bigger jurisdictions, so I can't,
Sure.
Until we
to
actually
answer
see
your
a
question
contract
about
to see what
cost,
our
I
opt-out
don't know
cost
if it's
Yeah.
worth it.
You know,
Yeah,
We may
Yeah.
do the same thing and end up in the same position.
Who knows?
Right.
We pay 500 for the first test if we still only get to try 2 or 3 people.
then we,
We still have the option of giving another test once that test is expired. Just because it's for a year, if there's nobody on the list, then we can give another test,
okay.
so.
You're not losing any control because this isn't circumventing the Civil Service Commission.
Right,
Everything's still the same.
right.
You're still gonna get quality people.
It's,
Well, yeah, none of the standards have changed.
No. And it's
It's
still
just
gonna
who-
come through the civil service, you're still gonna have the list for the mayor.
And plus with them paying a fee, they wanna do it.
yeah.
Yeah,
The
Yeah.
only difference is with the police test, if you go through this company, you're gonna have people on that list that you probably can't hire until they get
Well,
the
yeah.
certification.
but you can make that clear.
Cause I'm sure the city doesn't wanna employ someone who doesn't have
No.
hasn't graduated
No.
to protect the streets in the city.
So in the last 5 years, how many times have we had a police, test?
Oh, God, a
Every-
lot.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
That's a
saying,
lot.
that you're right though, if we should do it for the 5-year program.
Right. That's kind of where I'm at with,
Yeah.
I mean, that's my way of
It's a
thinking
pretty
with it.
significant difference, $150.
I think we need to see the actual contract, and like I said, we'll take a good look at, if after 2 years we don't like them, can we opt out? You know, so there might be a small fee to opt out or something.
That
So-
we didn't cross that bridge because we didn't discuss with them
Yeah.
anything more than just what were the basics that we could get into.
That's,
It's non-refundable regardless of early termination by the member.
There you go, Bob.
oh, this is the contract? I didn't see the contract, I
Yeah.
was looking at the advertisement.
Well, you gotta look at your liabilities for that, it's not that substantial.
No,
Right, sure.
So what's the difference between, because there's 2 contracts here. One that says 400 and something, and the other one that says 600 and something. The second one is 637, and the first one is 425. What's the difference between the 2?
people, right?
I don't know.
Right, you all have 2 different contracts, correct? Well, the front page all looks the same.
Let's see. Well, it looks like that's like an add-on. That's what it looks like to me. Here's the standard service and here's like an add-on.
Attachment B.
So that's included with the membership. Let's see, 2 in the nurse's one.
One says open and continuous and the other says short term. So I don't know what the difference between open and continuous and what the difference between short term is.
So which one, we don't know which one we would go with then, okay? But the price
we'd
says
have to see.
$500, so, and that's kind of in the middle of both.
Yeah.
We would have to see what the difference between those 2, I think. What that means.
I feel like it's like an add-on.
Okay, but the gist of it is basically nobody has a problem with implementing
No,
this.
absolutely.
No, I think
No.
we should try it.
Yeah, and I would agree with that, and basically we're just gonna get down to, are we gonna go with a 1 year or a 5 year? That's basically the only thing we would need to go over prior to getting legislation, correct?
Well, I
Or
wanna
would,
go back, and I want, JP, I think we talked about this briefly. When I had initially met with Roddy, he brought this to my attention. I am pretty sure that our ordinances do not currently specify a testing company. I don't know whether or not it said, our ordinances say anything about being OPATA certified
sure,
at the time of testing. Now, my question would be, and I'm just playing devil's advocate, if we don't currently have an ordinance that designates a testing company, for example, why do we now need an ordinance designating a testing company?
I don't think you, with that being said, you may not need one. At this point, it seems like you're not sure if you need one or not, correct?
Well,
Council's willing to give you one either way, so if you need it, then we'll move forward that way. If you don't need it, then just proceed how you guys
Just
see
do
fit.
a roll
I,
call.
the only reason I don't, and this is my only thought on it, is that a year, 2 years goes by and we have this ordinance on the books that says that we have.
You'll need the
use
ordinance
this
to take it off.
and we forget to do it or something, and then we're not in compliance with our own
Right.
ordinances when we didn't need it, when it could have been something that very easily just could have been a policy and procedure or a practice of the Civil Service Commission, and they could easily change, probably more easily change it than we can.
Agreed, but if it goes.
Again, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on
If
that.
it goes into effect currently now by ordinance, it'll have to go out by ordinance if you ever
Correct.
go to take it
That's
off.
correct.
But you might not need one now, so, I mean, I guess that would just be you finding out, do we need an ordinance, do we not?
And I
If you-
think JP's gonna enlighten us on why he thinks we need it, they may want or we need an ordinance.
Two things. One, I've not researched the city ordinance. Bert told me when I walked in today that he looked at it and thought that there was or
I
something.
thought I saw something in there that said that Clancy would be used, or it's something we discussed in our meetings. If that's not the case, then you really don't need an ordinance. You don't need anything to designate it.
You might want one though, I don't know, that's
Well-
another part of the equation too.
That's the second part of the equation that I was going to indicate is, I don't know that I feel comfortable as the Civil Service Commission entering into a contract with a third party. We don't do that with Clancy.
Well, they would still have to approve.
That's what I'm saying. That's why
contract.
I'm thinking that's an issue that for city council to determine whether they feel comfortable entering into a contract, because it's a contract and we're bound by the terms. So if you guys go 5 years, we're bound by 5 years.
Sure,
I don't think we have the power to make that call.
okay.
That's the first thing.
And do I need, in order to sign a contract,
I think.
Fair
I
approval.
think I need council's approval
Yes.
anyway, because we're expending money.
Correct.
Which again, in council, nobody here has an issue with any way that it needs to be
I
done.
didn't think anybody would.
You know what I mean?
But then, you know, like you said, instead of, you know,
We wanna test and they
Yeah,
say, okay,
they-
we'll put it
yeah.
together.
instead of, you know, somebody forgetting, it would be, I think, due diligence of the safety service director to keep us abreast of what deadlines come up.
Yeah, and to a certain extent, Civil Service Commission. I
Sure.
mean, if there's gonna be a change in the testing company, then
Yeah.
hopefully somebody will remind council that, whether it's me, whether it's safety service, whether it's civil service.
Or at least, you know, if it's police and fire, then the chairman of that department.
Correct.
Or do we have to put a time limit on the ordinance? Can we just, like, does it have to be a 1 year or a 5 year thing in the?
No, I
ordinance?
wouldn't
Can it
suggest
just-
we do it. I
No.
would just say
can
we're
just
the
say, this
civil
is the
service.
company we're using?
If we're gonna do that, just say civil services to use this company for.
Correct, but just whatever you do go to enter in on, you would need council's approval to pick a 1 year or a 5 year, correct?
Correct.
Cause that's,
The contract.
Yeah,
The
the
contract.
yeah, correct.
And that's kind of a separate issue than specifying the testing company.
100%.
So you don't want the signing of a contract in ordinance form then?
When it comes time to sign the ordinance, then council, I think, would pass an ordinance authorizing the
Authorizing the
mayor
mayor
to
to
sign
sign.
Enter into a
to sign
contract.
the
Yes.
contract.
Yeah, I need, yeah.
I don't think we can enter into the contract
Right.
is
She
my
has
point.
to.
Yeah.
Okay.
The same which we do with all our other contracts,
Sure.
for engineering services.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Pete, do we have anything in our bylaws that say we need to use Clancy or anything like that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, I know we discussed it, and maybe I misread
No, I
it,
thought
whatever.
we
Not in our rules, no.
I
we don't
haven't
have
seen
a-
the ordinances, so.
John, to answer your other
Yeah,
question.
that's what I'm
I-
interested in.
The second part of my thing is, or my concern, which is why I wanted to bring this today, is, you know, there are the certification, that's the big issue.
Mhm.
Because currently, right now, you have to have all the legal descriptions that we put together, you have to have an OPATA certificate to even be considered to sit and take the test, and then to be part of, if you have to pass the test, and if there's an agility portion, you have to pass that, there's like three levels to be an eligible person on the list. If we're doing away with the certification, That's where I think the issue comes into play as to how we do that and change something that has been part of what we've done since the entire time I've been here.
And I could totally understand the Opata part of it, but it's just the concern was just, I wanna make sure that if we change companies, we change the ordinance to get the new company at a later date.
That, I just thought that was a contract issue, because we're signing a contract, so.
So will there be an agility test still?
Afterwards, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh.
unless,
All we're
unless the
changing, Lauren-
chief changes what he.
All we're
Okay.
changing is you're allowed to sit for this test without going through an
With
OPATA
any
cert.
other certifications, but so
Correct.
if they don't pass the agility, they're still on the list though?
No.
They'd be off the list then?
Yeah, because
So-
we've had firemen that don't pass the.
So they take this test before they get their OPATA, they pass our test, they don't get their OPATA, then they're out. They don't pass agility, they're out, correct?
So if we get this for the police, where does that put you guys? You guys have nothing to do with that testing then at all?
We never have anything to do with the testing.
Well, you give the test, right?
company proctors the test, we just make sure that everything's done
We just
the
observe.
appropriate way. We
Okay.
grade all the tests. In other words, they do them on an anonymous basis. You come in to take your test, you're given a number. You know, you fill out a piece of paper and then a number, and then we get those. So all the testing company knows is your test number 4. They don't know your name, they don't know your age, your race, your ethnicity, so there's no bias in that. Then they send us the test number and the score, and then we take those numbers, we take the letter that, or test number that they give us, we match it with the person, and then we assign the score that they give. So it's an anonymous test. That's the whole purpose of using an outside company, so nobody could say,
So you guys would,
Favoritism or anything.
yeah, I
You
don't
guys
like Mr.
maintain the
Bates,
list
so
then.
I gave him the score number less than 70, so he didn't pass.
so you still get the info from them and you maintain the list?
They create the test, they grade the test, but they don't know who's taking it, all they have is a number.
Oh, good,
And then we
okay.
match them up together and then post the scores. So we don't know anything,
Yeah.
we just get the numbers and match them up.
I think it's gonna give applicants more incentive too.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot more incentive.
So we've been focusing on police, but this would also be used for fire and street?
We would,
You
it
could
could be,
use
but
it
we're
for
not
fire.
choosing to
Yeah.
do that
That's,
because
alright, so it's just police we're talking about?
Correct.
Gotcha.
right now, we're not choosing to do that. We don't feel that we have
Cause
the
if we
same
had 3
issues.
categories, it'd be 3 times that.
Right, and, but like JP said, every time we have a fire test, we have a good
Yeah, there's
test.
usually a pretty
And
good turn.
street too.
Now, if in the future that changes and we need to
Yeah, we can
add to
always
those,
Then we'll bring that
then
back
we'll
to
do
you.
that then, but currently, just address the problem at hand.
Yeah, okay, good information, thanks guys.
Yeah. Yep. So, we're gonna wait for something to, decide on what route we wanna go, 1 year, 2 year, 5 year term, that's all we're gonna do. And we're gonna have to get some type of ordinance written up then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the ordinance, let's clarify, the ordinance is just going to say, this is the company to use for the testing.
Okay.
As far as how long to go with the contract, I think that could be handled it doesn't, the ordinance doesn't have to specify, use this
Okay.
company for 5 years. Just use this company, and then when we can discuss what length of a contract we wanna enter into, so when you pass your ordinance authorizing the mayor to sign that
It'll be
contract.
Exhibit,
Okay.
for it.
Yeah.
And I'll get clarification on that, on what the difference between those two, and then we'll bring that with an ordinance, to go along with allowing me to sign.
But John, that will also say, that basically in taking the test, you don't have to have a Zapata
Yes,
certification.
yeah,
too.
yeah.
You know,
I
so
would-
both
yeah.
of those components will be in there, correct?
Correct.
But
The
upon
any
hiring, they should
certification.
have it.
Correct.
Contingent upon.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
And then, once the ordinance is filed, then we will have to amend our civil service rules to conform, it doesn't matter who you guys use, I'm not gonna put that in here, but the certification parts, the requirements under the 2 codes, or the 2 sections, will have to be amended so that they can be part of the eligibility lists. So, and John, I'll work with you on that, whatever you need.
Yeah, I don't think I'll need,
Okay.
I don't think I'll
And
need
if you
anything.
need anything, call me.
I will.
We'll sit down and talk.
Let me call you now so I get a call back in 3 weeks.
Oh, boy.
Sorry.
Here we go. All right, we're not in the courtroom, boys.
So I just have a question.
Did he sharpen his boots up or what?
This test, and they're not OPATA yet. How long do they have to?
Usually they take the test when they're
In
in
a
school.
lot- in
I think it's
So
offered
as soon as they
twice.
graduate
I
from
think you
school.
can get certified twice a year.
Oh, you
There's
can?
usually one in
The spring.
one in the spring, which is
Mhm.
January or whatever, and then there's another one at the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's
So would you wanna put
Well,
a
would,
time
yeah, I was gonna say,
requirement
would
on
you
there?
bake that into the ordinance that, you know,
good for
upon you could
some.
take this, but you only have 6 months to,
Well, they're not gonna be
Get
hired until they have
certified.
OPATA.
Yeah.
So all you have to do in an ordinance is say, OPATA is required to be
Upon
hired.
hiring,
Yeah.
before hiring.
okay.
Yeah, but the only thing is, that again, they're on your list.
Well, they're on a list, but they're not active on the list because they don't have OPATA, they can't be
So
on the
we
list.
can't, we can't,
No,
They
they're.
won't be on the list until they have OPATA.
But you can't test again.
No, he just
That's
said,
not true. If you guys accept these people as, that they
candidate.
pass the test and they're candidates, they go on the eligibility list.
Okay.
but
That's
we can't hire
That's,
And-
that's.
That's the drawback.
ordinance
That's the
until
one
they
drawback.
have
So
their
if you
OPATA.
don't, if you
Right.
don't
Goes
put a
back to
time frame
ordinance.
on for them to get the certification, then that list continues.
For a whole
until-
year.
So that may be an issue
so
that.
that's
So you
what,
may
that's
wanna
if they're on
put,
the list.
6 months.
The time
yeah,
limit, 6
yeah,
months.
you may wanna put at least
To get a pot
something baked
certified.
into there.
6 months within the time of testing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, that.
So that
list
would
is
be
good
able to
for a
knock
year.
them off the list? That would make it okay to knock them off the list then if we put that in our
If it's in
ordinance?
the language. that
Yeah,
you're
but-
only
Yeah.
on-
But if we put 6 months, Lori, we still have to wait the 6
Well,
months.
6
Yeah.
months is different than waiting a
Yeah.
year.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
But I think there should be some time.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that, 6 months is a good, I
That might be too much.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I was
think
thinking
maybe
of 90
4.
days.
Yeah, I mean, 6 months might be too long.
maybe
The
4
problem
months.
is, as I said, I think, and
It's
I
only
think
twice a
Chief
year.
Roddy could answer this question
Yeah,
better
it
than
depends
I
on how many
can, but I
people you're
think there's
gonna put on the
only
list, too.
twice.
Well, could you say upon passage of the next qualification?
Yeah.
Well, then I guess, I don't know that you wanna make it that ambiguous, because
Yeah.
when is the next, I mean, I'm thinking as a
Oh, really?
lawyer, I'm sure John is too. You put vague language in there, and then people find their way around it. So if you give a specific time frame, I think that limits.
But if you do your tests like then, you would do your tests like a month before, 2 months before they get the OPATA, then you do it again 6 months, which would be your 6-month window. I'm sure they test like a 6-month.
Yeah, but look, the problem is gonna be if there's other people on that list, we can't give another test for a year, no matter what, correct?
As long as there's
there's
viable
eligible
candidates on the list, we
Even
could
if we
just-
put the 6-month
So
on
if you,
the,
Just those people will
Just those
fall off
people.
the list.
uh,
If there's other people
Those
on
are
there,
not three, so-
Okay.
yeah.
Everybody else has the 1 year requirement.
okay.
But we should still address this in the same manner, which you're only still gonna have so long before
Yeah.
this falls
drop
off.
Well, even if you went with 6 months, I mean, it may be, the next test to get qualified might be 2 weeks after they take the test.
Yeah.
And, you know, which basically would eliminate them from,
Yeah, that's
From
gonna all come
possible
down to the
passage, so-
timing of when the
Yeah,
mayor
when you
gets
do
the
the
test
test.
and when,
Right,
when the graduation is on.
knowing which
that's what I was gonna say,
certifications.
when
And I'm
graduation
not-
place.
when we get it.
Yeah,
When we
Well,
usually
we
get
would
it.
want it beforehand, cause like I said, what's happening is Youngstown's just hiring while they're in school, all these, and we would want it well before
Yeah.
they
we
graduate.
always
yeah,
scheduled, we always scheduled our test after graduation, so they would have their OPATA and they could take
Now we
our
could
test.
schedule before,
Now we
right?
can schedule it.
What would you look at, maybe 2-3 months before?
No,
No.
probably about a month or so.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So 3 months might be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
If we put
If
it for, put it for
We
90
take-
days.
we
Yeah.
schedule it right around the OPATA testing.
You know when they do that?
Yeah.
We could
Okay, okay, so then it would just be a matter of
And John,
setting
you
up
may
a
even
time.
want to talk to Chief, see
we
what
waived
input he has.
we've had to do the agility tests in the snow.
Yep.
So I know one of them is in January, and I thought there's another one in September. I think there's 2 a year. Okay. Or August, whatever the time frame is. The chief would probably know, because he's the instructor out there.
have his input and.
All right, anything else for Mr. Steen or Mr. Lasko?
Thanks for being here, guys.
And thank you for coming. Appreciate it very much for all the information you gave.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I motion to adjourn.
To adjourn.
Second. Meeting adjourned.
All right, let's roll into finance and legislation. Mr. Burnside. Here. Mr. Valley. Here. Mr. Bigley is here. We have one piece from the auditor, and it is an ordinance accepting the 2025 music and Bothy Park donation from Aqua Ohio Incorporated for the amount of $5,000 and directing the auditor to credit said donation to the 2025 general fund and declaring an emergency. We don't really need to speak on this.
The same as last
Same as we always
We're
do.
just thankful.
Motion to bring it
And
up.
I'll have that scheduled for you, I'm gonna be working on that tomorrow and Friday, so this is just a calendar for the year, and then I'll have the actual flyer that Aqua's sponsoring within the next.
All good.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Thanks, guys. Motion to bring it out.
Motion to bring it up.
Second. That is it for legislation. Does anybody have anything for this committee?
Did they come up with any dates for the chip applications? Or-
Yeah, that's what they were just, the meeting was, they're gonna release them on the 19th, so that we should have them in the office on the 19th for them to come.
This month.
I completely got
That's right.
confused on that, well, that's
The
my fault.
19th of this
The
month.
19th, so they can come to the office,
He says he may have them by then.
yeah, we're gonna notify everybody when
It's
they're
not very
available
clear on the
to the
date.
office.
No.
And then they'll notify us when the turn-in is, that's when everybody lines up with their paperwork and
Oh, okay, so you can get the applications, but that's not the turn-in date.
Right.
but like I said, and I know Phil was sick today, but he'll get us the date ahead of time, so we can, I'll send a text message, we'll post on social media, we'll get that in through, news outlets. We'll try to get it in the Vindicator as well, that way everybody's aware, and we have a list at, in my office, too, of people that have been calling throughout the year, Megan has a list on day two that we can let everybody know when that's available.
For people that might be disabled, I mean, does it have to be the person that's applying, or can it be like
No, it
a
can be
child, one of their children or
Yeah,
something
it
like
can
that?
be someone for that person, if they're disabled and they come in the back door.
We find a spot where they would be in the front line, and then they would direct you at that point.
And they come up the stairs.
Okay.
It's crazy around
So the 19th of February.
Well, that might be,
That
when,
here. That might possibly be when we get
You got the actual
the
application.
hand out.
Okay.
yeah, he may not release them until they come and do the meeting, but sometimes they've done that. Did you wanna talk on this at all or no?
We can't, I gotta meet with John about that. So we have, two contracts. We'll just discuss it briefly and then we'll talk about it, next week. So you are all aware we got the $2.75 million grant through ODOD, the Department of Development, for the purchase of 10 homes. So we have a contract with them that we have to sign. There's still some questions we're trying to iron out, with Christy and Mark, so we're gonna have a meeting again on Monday, I believe, with a few people, but this is just allowing me to sign this, accept the money.
Enter into a contract.
Yeah. But it is going to be 8 homes instead of 10, they're gonna change that because they dropped the money that we applied for. $2.75 million, but it's gonna be for 8 homes, we have all the locations, and I'll bring that list of locations here too. So there's a couple we passed, we're doing, we're working with Mahoney County Land Bank too,
So 2.7 million
2.75 million.
and 8 homes.
So what happens is, this is the first time they're doing this, it's called the Welcome Home. Yeah, it's called the Welcome Home Ohio project. So a lot of the guidelines are kind of vague, and then just like with the ARPA money, they tell you what's gonna happen, and then they kind of like put stipulations in here and there, so this is our first time ever doing this. So we're trying to iron out kinks and find out, so we do it right the first time.
Who gets these homes?
So you have to qualify for the program. So we get the $2,750,000. We purchase these homes. We're giving these properties to Pantheon. They're going to build these homes. the data and the stuff we don't know, because we don't have anybody that can administer this type of program. They're gonna turn around and sell the homes, we cannot sell them for more than $180,000. You have to qualify, you have to be I think they're trying to change some type of legislation. It was 80% of the median household income. They're trying to up that to 120% of the median. So you have to qualify. They place a lien on the house, I believe, for 10 years. You can't sell the house without getting some kind of penalty. But these are going to be brand new homes. And we can sell them for up to 180,000, but we're going to sell them for whatever the comparables are.
Yeah. I can just tell you this. So, wherever you build these homes, if you're not able to sell them past 180,000, you'll end up selling them at 180,000.
So we may not,
So you are.
we may not sell it at 180,000 based on the fact that right now the guidelines to sell these homes is 80% of the median income, which I believe is right around $45,000. So your income has to be at $45,000 or less in order to buy this house, which may not qualify you for a loan.
Correct.
Okay, so that's why we're trying to get, everybody's trying, not just us, the state is trying to get that bump up to 120% of the median income, which puts it up closer to 70,000.
Right.
So now you gotta take into effect, you want somebody to make $70,000 a year to get a loan to buy this house. So instead of selling for 180, we may wind up selling them for 120.
The house is actually worth 180.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's worth closer to 300,000. But the thing is, the state gave us the money to buy these homes, the money that we make off of selling them goes into our, well, whatever we decide to do, probably, land reutilization, do it again.
And
We can use the money to build more houses, we can use the money to increase our CHIP program, you know, use the money to demo houses.
We need clarification though on what we can use that money for from
Right.
the
So
state.
there's
We
no
don't-
guidelines yet.
No,
No,
and that's
so-
what even Chrissy's saying, well, we're gonna get this money from these houses, and then what can and can't we do? And there's not a clear set of guidelines. We know it has to be something, like he said,
The
that
home-
chip, home.
We also know it's
something
gonna
like a
take
welcome
quite a
home.
bit of time for this to get moving,
They're planning on starting in April,
but it'll still gonna take quite a bit of time for you to get the houses built.
yes.
And by the time you find a buyer, by the time all of those things go, a lot of these guidelines will,
And because of the,
Yeah.
because of all the guidelines with the housing income and the fact that if you could sell your house again, but you have to sell it under the same guidelines that you bought it, you know, medium income and everything else, that's why we have a nonprofit that's gonna administer those guidelines for us.
Now, are these properties spread out through the city?
Yes, so we went through, we have the properties that are in the city land reutilization, we have properties that are in the Mahoning County land reutilization, and then we have properties that are just city of Struthers. And we've been hoarding those properties, as you guys know, we've said,
Sure
we're
have
taking
been.
these properties, if we can build a house on them, we're holding on to those. If it's too small to build a house on, we've been trying to sell those to the neighbors. But we'll give, if you're gonna put a house on the property, we will give you those properties. Our goal is to put houses back on these empty lots.
100%. Now, two things though. You'll give those properties with a stipulation that within
With a
1 or 2 years, you're going to have a viable residence there and it rented or lived in.
Yes,
'Cause
or
they-
it goes back to,
Are you allowed to rent them?
no.
Not these
home-
ones.
No, home
No.
ownership.
If you sell this house, you have to sell it under the same guidelines that you bought it, you know, and that, I think that lasts for like 20 years.
Yeah, and we've already I've had 4 people on the list that when this becomes available, they want to be notified because they want to apply for these, and we're giving, special attention to police, fire, safety forces, and teachers. So if there's any kind of lottery or any kind of who's getting these houses, if we have all these people apply, that will give them kind of a leg up.
So that was my question, is who's going to determine who gets these
This
houses?
nonprofit company, because
Well-
we don't wanna say,
we're not
we're
picking.
gonna give it to you, and we're not giving it to you, that's
No.
not gonna be what, we don't wanna get into doing that, or being responsible for that, so this company will have a clear cut, this is how it's gonna be done, but we still have, those are some guidelines we still have to go over.
But we will still determine what the house gets sold for, or if it sells or if it doesn't.
Well,
Is that
like you
correct?
said,
With the
we'll be
real
looking at
estate, with
right.
whoever the agent is, with, yeah,
Market value and, of course, affordable income.
yeah.
You know, we can't put it at a price where people under the guidelines will never get a loan, that we, Not
No,
certain.
that's true.
It's the nonprofit that are in charge of, like, if there's a 10-year lien on it and these people default on the loan,
Then the nonprofit's
the
the one.
nonprofit takes
with
care of all
the-
that.
They'll handle the administration of it, cause that's one thing, we don't wanna screw this up. And right now, we don't, like I said, we don't have anybody that can administer this, and this is a huge undertaking, and it's something that we want to continue doing. We wanna get it right the first time, we wanna apply for the next round, we wanna continue doing this, that's the whole point of us hoarding all these properties. Our guys are cutting grass,
Well, the next thing is
all the
gonna
time.
be too, we do need to look at, if this goes and it's going good, we do need to look at the, basically the lot size for rebuilding in the city.
Dallas,
Yeah.
we've brought this up a lot, and there's a lot of times I've had conversations
said it
with you
10 times.
about tiny homes.
Correct.
That is huge, and there's a
Absolutely.
lot of people that want those, and our ordinances, the way they read right now, we can't.
But we have to look at it because I'm not sure if it's just our ordinances or it's county ordinance.
Now, see, I was looking up the tiny homes in different places, and most of them are like mobile homes
No.
on wheels.
No.
But no, they have to be on a slab,
Mhm.
right?
They would still have to be.
Yes.
Slab,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
But a
truly,
lot of the
they have to-
communities we're on actually
Well,
movable, mobile. you
They
know.
would have to be on a slab if that's what we deemed,
So that's why our ordinance are written right now, we
Currently.
cannot have a mobile.
that's where it is currently. And I'm not saying we should change it, I'm just saying we have the ability to go over this and craft it however we want
Yeah.
to get basically the maximum amount of lots built on that we can get built on
Sure.
in the city within reason. We don't want people living on top of each other, we don't wanna cause problems, but we do wanna populate the city as much as possible.
So the biggest drawback you have right now is your lot sizes are 50-foot frontages, and if they're
Mhm.
100 feet deep, that's 55,000 square feet. You can't build a home on that lot, because our ordinance say you
7,000.
have to have 7,000 or
Which,
6,500 in a residential.
well, I'll be honest, that's a lot. A 50 by 100 is a suitable lot to build a home in our city.
Especially a small home.
That really
Okay.
is,
Yeah.
alright? Now, when you start getting more narrow, that's more of the problem than anything.
So the big problem with the 50-foot frontage, and you're right, we got a couple 50-foot frontages that we're gonna put in on there because the square footage, they're deeper, so they meet the square footage requirement. You can't really go much smaller than that because you always wanna have a driveway. So when you put a 50-foot, put a house there and then put a driveway beside it,
You figure you're not gonna have a house more narrow than, say, 20 to 24 feet.
Yeah.
Is probably the narrowest you're gonna have a house.
and you get a
You
10-foot
get 10,
driveway.
12-foot driveway, you're at 36
And you have to be
feet
5 feet off the
each
one
side. Right, so 50 feet is probably about
Minimum.
minimal, yeah. But I think county reads 55
A
if I'm
couple of
right.
our lots that we're giving to them, we got a couple lots over on Haywood, there's 2 lots, they're
Yep.
35-foot frontages.
Well,
We're not
most
taking
of, yeah, most of the lots
but
are
we're gonna-
35.
So we're gonna
By
replat those
120.
into one 70-foot frontage.
So there'll be one house
So there'll be
there.
one house on those 2 lots will be replatted into one lot and put a house there.
That's perfect.
There's one on Hawthorne, there's 3 lots that we're gonna combine to 2. There's one on the bottom of, I think I can remember all of them. There's one on the bottom of
Narcissa,
Narcissa, we're combining right over
There-
by the
there's-
baseball field.
yeah,
There's a
there's-
huge
Did you
lot
guys
there.
catch the one
Bottom of
across
Morrison
from
and
Clemente
Pullen
McKay?
Avenue.
It had to have came to
No,
you.
you told
Because
us
it was
you
at
were gonna
it was
look
at sheriff's sale, and it didn't sell, so then it gets earmarked to you guys, to Struthers. And it's 3 lots too. It's across from Carol
yeah,
McClay.
they're small lots, one lot is like 10-foot wide.
Right,
And
and then there's 2 that are
so
big.
last time I looked at that, it was still under the property owner's name,
Okay,
the last
okay.
time I looked at it.
Well, it didn't didn't sell a few months ago at sheriff's sale. I called the county land bank, they said that if it didn't sell at sheriff's sale, it would reverted to Struthers City Land Bank. That you guys must have properties earmarked, that if they don't sell at sheriff's sale, they go
Yeah.
here, correct?
That's,
So,
so that hasn't gone through yet.
Correct.
So, but, yeah.
usually if it doesn't sell,
could
it
be in the
takes
works.
3 to 6
Yeah,
months,
and
but
the-
that's a good
The
location.
land bank we've been working with really well. Deb Flora at Mahone County is.
Oh, she's the best.
She's a
She re-
genius.
yeah.
She really is one of the
They're great
best
people
things
at the
this
land
county
bank.
has going on.
Yeah, I would agree.
And she's been working with us too, because one of the lots in between on Hawthorne was the county land bank. And she said, well, make me an offer, so we lowballed it and we are getting the
Absolutely.
property, because she understands that,
They're committed to doing what's
Oh,
right with
yeah.
that property, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And on both sides. If you don't have a claim to that property, they ain't giving it to you, cause they're making sure that we don't just keep going in a circle here with
Yeah.
them going
Divide a
from one
property.
person who don't take care of it to another to another. They are definitely committed to managing that property, but they wanna give it to you, they want somebody to do
Yeah.
something with it, I mean, they really do.
So there'll be more discussion on this, but like I said, we're gonna have a meeting on Monday, cause Mark was just in the last meeting, and there's some questions, we just wanna make sure we do it the right way, cause this is something we wanna continue to do.
That's awesome that we were able to get that.
Well, this
Really is.
Pantheon, I will tell you, Ryan Kelly, I'm sure you guys know Ryan Kelly, his wife's a teacher at the school, and Stephen Davis, local guy, their company, they came to us and said, listen, we tried to do this nobody's listening because the guidelines aren't clear, can we apply for it?
Yeah.
So they sat in my office and walked me through how to do it, because when I went to a couple of seminars about this and with the housing crisis and everything, and I will tell you, I sat in between the two guys who knew more than everybody putting on the seminar. They were the ones, and I thought, okay, I'm in the right place,
Yeah,
I'm with the
right.
right people,
They're
we've
one
met
of the few
with,
developers that are willing to take this on because the profit margin on this is very low.
Mhm.
So a lot of your bigger developers don't wanna even touch this program.
yeah, and we've
Yeah.
met with a ton of developers
Yep.
that didn't understand, they always want the city, well, what are you gonna pay, what are you gonna give us money for, how are you gonna be a financial partner in this, and we're like, we can't. So these people were the first ones that understood that we don't have that money to put forward, but knew how to get it for us.
Yes.
So it's gonna be different, cause it's something we never did before,
I'm
but
excited
I
about
think
it,
we
cause
have
honestly, for the
figured-
last probably 6 years, I've been talking about doing the opposite. We shouldn't demo these houses. We should get with a construction company, someone who's gonna fix these, get them back to rented, or get them back to somebody living in them, I mean,
But the problem is all the cost of anything. Who wants to build a house for 300,000
You can't.
and not be able to sell it for 300,000?
You can't.
This is where the welcome home
yeah, this was
Ohio
perfect,
is kinda like the
Yes.
answer to that.
yes.
So we'll see. So we can have more we have said brief discussion, but we can have more discussion about it.
No, I mean,
And I wanna make sure
again,
Christie is,
our discussion about it, it seems like we'll be all positive, you know, I mean,
I don't know
there's
how it can
nothing
be.
negative about,
I think 4 houses are in Nebo.
there you go, Bob.
I think there's one on Center? Or
no,
did we scratch
did
Center for
we
Haywood?
scratched Center for Haywood.
We
I can
scratched
tell
Center
you,
for
if you give me 2 seconds, I can tell you the list right now.
One on Haywood, I know at least 2 on Narcissa. Narcissa and John, there was a big lot, and they've
Oh,
been
yeah.
vacant forever,
Yep,
so,
if you go across Narcissa on John.
Yeah.
If you're,
no, right on the corner,
I got them all, okay.
on the, would be the west side.
oh, okay, okay.
Okay, so 203 Poland Avenue, which is the corner of Morrison and
Morrison.
Poland Avenue, it's a very big lot. There's 3 plots on Hawthorne that are gonna be replatted to
into
2. There are 3 plots on Narcissa that are gonna be 2, that's 5 houses. And there's a corner lot on the corner of John and Prospect, that's
that's
gonna be
right.
the 6th one.
That's a
And
big lot.
then
It's a good one.
we were looking at the Hawthorne one across the
Across the
street
street from
from
the
the
other
other 2, and then the 2 on Haywood.
Or the
that
2
are-
lots on Haywood, but 1 house.
But we're building, yeah, that's right by the park.
It's a good site.
And we did, I will tell you, we went around
Yeah.
and we have a lot more. We just wanna make sure these are, when we went with the we went around a couple times, and for this round, these are the houses that they chose because there's not a lot of elevation problems, there's not a lot of issues, but going forward, we have 60
Plus, it's a
something
great
properties.
neighborhood.
Well, I
But
guess,
we have a lot of properties to choose from,
I
is what
guess-
I'm
But
saying,
they
so
looked
it's
at a
not
lot
gonna
of
be-
things, like she said, they were looking at the elevation of the lot, how much
yeah,
excavating would be
excavation
done.
is gonna
Yeah,
be
and there's
sure.
some-
Those
there's
all
some in-
determined the
Sure.
on
price.
the north
yeah.
side too, but like the one on Frank, the elevation, it doesn't mean it's not gonna get done, it's just not gonna get done in this round.
Right.
Because they have to play around with,
But also, Mayor,
cost.
we literally could look at this strategically, and in the future moving forward, we can take a look at our demo list, the things that you guys do have on demo list, and say, this house is more important to
be a
us
good
tore
lot,
down,
yeah.
because this lot would be prime
Yeah.
to build one of these newer
One
homes.
other
100%.
question is, okay, these houses are gonna cost 300,000 to build. Is that
Right,
what,
right,
is that
yeah.
what the taxes are gonna be on?
That's a good question, that
Three
probably,
hundred
No.
and 343,000.
No, cause it doesn't follow what it costs to
so
build, it
they'll do
follows,
an appraisal.
But that's how much it's worth.
no,
But
it's
no,
not.
because when the county comes out and does appraisals are done by homes, they, can-
In the
within
area.
a big area.
They're gonna
Yeah.
go off your
I mean,
comps, your
right.
square footage,
Okay,
you know,
Yeah,
what your
so-
neighbor's house is worth, that's all they're really gonna go off of, they won't go on what it costs to build,
okay. Cause that'd be a big factor.
yeah.
It would.
Well, it would get expensive real quick by the time you added up your property tax,
Sure,
your
Insurance.
loan on the home, and your insurance, because your insurance is based off the value of your house.
sure.
So all of those things would lead it up well above somebody who makes $45,000 would definitely not be able to afford that.
And that's why everybody is trying to get, I mean, the whole
It's kinda
state.
crazy they said it at that level. I mean,
Right.
That's what we said.
It doesn't take much
But
thought
that's
to
why
get to
everybody
that.
else
Yeah.
is saying, like, this doesn't make sense. That's why they wanna try the 120, they already have the legislation drawn up, so I guess from what Deb told me, it's gonna happen, it just hasn't yet.
This is through the state legislation.
Yes, this is all Ohio Department of Development. These are the big wigs.
And that makes a big difference, the 120 will make a big difference on selling houses, period, you know?
Well, the truth of the matter is, the houses, when they are done, if they were to go get sold, I'm sure they would sell well into the 250,000. That's what a brand new house.
Yeah.
I mean, our older homes here and homes that are just barely remodeled are 150, 170,000 now. So I'm sure they would, but that criteria is gonna keep us
So,
from,
and
selling them for
and
what
that's
they're
the
actually
difference between this and low-income housing. So these people have to get a loan.
Workforce.
So not only do they have to meet the income requirements, but they have to have good credit
Yeah.
and everything else, because they have to get a loan to purchase this
Sure.
house.
Yeah, we're calling it
So-
workforce development
right.
housing.
was
It's
there any
not-
criteria in there about, the loan? Can it be an FHA loan? Can it be, does it say anything about that? Cause
No.
that will
No.
drastically
No.
help people, cause then they're gonna get a prime rate, and they're
Yeah.
gonna get a 3.5% down payment versus a 10 or a 20,
Right.
depending on your credit.
The VA
So
loan.
if they are able to get an FHA loan, that would drastically help what we can sell the house for then, or it would broaden our pool of people who can afford the house.
So those are all the things that the nonprofit's gonna handle. When they take the applications in, you know, they'll look at that and they'll offer the people a home, but then that person also has to get the finance.
Sure.
It's also good to have somebody knowledgeable on council that knows about this stuff.
I was gonna say, you're talking like you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm just pretending right now.
I don't think,
No,
I
I-
haven't heard
we've been
nothing about
talking
loan
about-
restrictions, so if they wanted to get a VA loan or
Well, that's
whatever,
gonna
I
really
think-
help who can actually afford
Yes.
the home then, you know what I mean? An 8% interest rate versus a 3.5% interest rate is
Right.
literally at night and day, I mean.
And if it's a VA loan, and you're trying to buy a $300,000 house, that down payment doesn't have to be a whole lot.
No, and again, I think this is a great thing, and I think it's great that this is going on, I think it's great for Struthers, it's good for whoever's gonna be in these homes, but I also think we need to maximize as much money as we can possibly get out of these,
100%.
cause it is for the city,
Yes.
and,
And,
you
it
know,
will
we
be-
that's
can't
something
sleep
we can
on
turn
that.
around
Back
and
into-
reinvest it,
Yes, yes,
And we
but I don't wanna say, listen, these people need a home and we really like them, so we gotta give this one
That's
away
why
for
we
next to
can't-
nothing.
that's
This
why
isn't
we
our
can't-
money,
So
this
let
is going back
somebody
to
And
the
that's why
city.
it takes all of us out of that,
Right.
it takes the emotion out of it,
Yes.
it takes any kind
Yes.
of, well, I know this person, I grew up with this person, it takes that
You
all
can't play
out of it.
charity when it's not your money. You understand what I mean by that? Meaning, this is not our money, this is the city's
Right.
money. So I can't
So,
give it to him because he's a good guy and give it in his house for next to nothing.
Right.
It ain't my money.
so we're building 8 homes, and Mahoney County's putting one in Struthers also.
Oh, yeah,
So we're
they
gonna have
got,
9.
yeah, they applied for their own,
Mahoney County's got like 20 homes
theirs
or
is on
something.
spring, is it on spring? I think it's on spring.
Okay.
But the other thing, Billy has been working with the land bank since he started. He's been on all of these forums with getting those properties into our land bank. And last time I checked, I think there was 38 that he was working on getting those into our land bank. So that's a whole nother, those are more properties we're getting that are just out there that the people have either passed on or they went to sheriff's sale or they call Billy every day. Hey, do you want this property? And Billy's has to say, we tell him, yes, just take whatever.
Sure.
Whatever we can
You could always give
utilize.
it back to the Mahoney County Land Bank if you're not doing anything with it, or if you don't care to keep, because now you guys have to cut the grass.
we're
And the
trying to get
maintenance.
that list down for the guys
So,
too.
at some point, if you could say, hey, we're actually not gonna use these, and you guys have a use for them, you can give back the land
Yeah.
bank.
We could,
I'm not saying you should, I'm saying you could if they were a hindrance at some point, ones you weren't gonna use.
But yeah, and there's gonna be questions, I'm sure, coming up about this project,
I think
cause
it's great.
like I said, this is all of our first time
and
doing
we're
this,
hoping
and
they
we're
do it
gonna-
again.
yeah.
Honestly, after this round is done and they get all some of the little wrinkles ironed out, we hope they
We wanna do it
do it
again.
again.
Absolutely.
If they offer it to
I mean,
us again,
I do the same
look
thing
again.
now, when I'm purchasing a property, I look to see if the land bank, Mahoney County Land Bank, has a property next door that I will be able to grab for a low amount of money, and in future years, once we've rehabbed all we have, that's my plan, is to start building small efficiency properties, and, next door to properties I already own. So I deal with the land bank all the time.
If you're gonna put a house on it, you have-
I have a question with the property. Josh Shields' property, is he gonna end up building anything there?
yes,
Is
yeah,
he?
he's putting I think we showed the picture of the barn dominion
Yeah, we
or
saw it
something.
last year or something, I just didn't know when he was gonna start doing
I-
anything there.
I know it's, I think he paid a little bit more for his designs and plans and blueprints than what he
Thought.
anticipated, but, yeah, he still has plans to build there. When you start hiring architects to build.
Yeah, but he
blueprints,
takes care of it pretty good, it never
He
looks
does.
bad.
Yeah.
His dumpsters there.
When he drops his dumpsters, they're all in a line, it's not like one's over here, one's
Yeah.
over there, he does take care of it.
He does.
He asked me if he could put those dumpsters there. I said, some of them are on gravel or concrete or something, as long as they're not on grass.
He keeps it
And he
clean.
did, he
It does-
dropped
he
the
keeps it
gravel
clean.
there.
Yeah, he keeps it pretty nice
He
there.
does. Okay, anybody else, anything for this committee? Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?